Hi, my name is Andy Mallet and this is Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 21. So today we're going to go through Hello Drag and Drop. So let's get started by launching the sample. So this is a sample that illustrates different kinds of drag and drop, whether you have a list, a label, a text widget, a spinner, or you're dragging a file from outside the app into it. So let's get started by demonstrating a list. So for example, I can drag the USA from the left side to the right side. I can drag Mexico, Canada, Australia, Germany, etc. So this is demonstrating list drag and drop. So because we have two lists, one on the left side and one on the right side. So let's go to label next. So this is here we're going to be dragging labels from, let's just say, Argentina to Brazil, Sweden to Finland, Denmark to Iceland. So what it's doing is basically grabbing the text content of the label and overwriting the destination label with it. Let's go next to text. So I can drag and drop to insert, or I can drag and drop to replace. So this demonstrates text drag and drop. And then there's spinner drag and drop. So I can drag and drop a value from the left side to the right side. And finally, let's do file drag and drop. So here it's saying drop one file or more here. So I'm going to go to my file system and let's just say I drag this first icon. So as you can see, it dropped the path of the icon. So that means in the application, you can actually receive this path and then do something with it, like load the file, copy it, move it, delete it, etc. And then I can select multiple files and drag all of them together. And as you can see, it's showing me there are two dragged items. And then I can drop them, and now we have two file paths. So how does this work? Let's take a look at the code. We have a simple location model that has a country attribute, and country options has all the countries that were displayed in the list. So then if we were to get into the application, it's a shell, meaning a window that has this title, and then there's the tab folder. So as you saw, there were multiple tabs. The first tab has the title of list because it was demonstrating list drag and drop. And then we have a first list over here and a second list over here. And the simple, here we have bidirectional data binding between the list selection data and the country attribute on location, and it'll automatically pull all the country options by convention. But then the more interesting part for this tutorial is actually drag and drop. So the simplest way of drag and drop is that one list would be designated declaratively as a drag source. So this is a drag source true, and then this other list is a drop target true. And Glimmer DSL for SWT will figure out the rest for you. You don't have to do anything more than that. So this will automatically ensure that if I drag elements from here to here, they're going to get copied from the left side to the right side. However, by default, you can actually drag the same element multiple times. So if you want to prevent that behavior, what you could do is customize the drop target value. Instead of saying true, we could say unique, so symbol unique, and this will ensure that I can drag an element only once to the destination list or the target list. However, we have a lot more options than that. So if you want to customize the way you're sending the data, you can enable this on drag set data listener and disable this drag source. And this will basically customize the way, so basically we're grabbing the selection of the list and then setting it in the event data, and that's going to get sent into the drop target. So, and then when you drop the element that you've dragged over here, if you have drop target true, it's going to handle it automatically for you. But again, here you can customize what you do on drop. So I can enable this listener instead, and it'll actually read the data. So it'll read event data and it'll add it to this destination list. and then it'll even select the element after it's gotten added. You even have a third option, which is even more advanced. If you want to have full customization of things like, are you linking only, or are you copying when you're dragging and dropping? Are you moving, or are you target moving? So there are a whole bunch of options that you can use to customize drag and drop. To learn more about them, you can visit this link in the Eclipse documentation. For example, the transfer protocol is text by default. It could be file or RTF. You can do things on the start of the drag event. You can do things on the finish of it. So there are a whole bunch of things you can customize. I mean, in this example, if you were to enable this code, it would actually customize the cursor of the mouse so that it would show you a waiting cursor while you're dragging an item. And here on drop, there are a whole bunch of things you can customize on drop as well. And in this example, is changing the background of the target area so that the target list becomes red when you're hovering over it. So you can do a whole bunch of interesting things. However, the simplest way of doing drag and drop is, again, by declaratively declaring one list as the drag source and the other list as the drop target. Now, if we were to move to the next tab, the label tab, this one is basically building 6 labels for those countries with different colors per label. And then every label is both a drag source and a drop target. So that's how you can, I can drag this to this label, but also I can drag this label to that label. So they're acting as both a drag source and a drop target, which is an interesting use case that sometimes is useful. So it's good to learn about. And that's pretty much it for label. By the way, the customizations you have here for options 2 and 3 are available on all widgets, not just the list. So you could perform that on labels as well. For text, you could do, again, you designate a text widget as the drag source and another one as the drop target. However, by default, it'll only append the text to the drop target. That's the default behavior. If you want to customize it, instead of setting drop target to true, you set it to the replace symbol. So this is why here, when I dragged the first one, the default behavior was for it to append the text. But for the second one, it actually replaced it. For the spinner, again, it's the same idea. You have a drag source and a drop target. And then for file, with this one, we're actually building, so we have a label here that's saying drop one file or more here. But also we're building a sort of a rectangle within the label area that is dashed. And this is what you saw over here, which gives you this dashed sort of metaphor that reminds people that this is a drop target area, and you can drop things into here, and you can see here that when we hover over it, it changes the background to yellow, and then it changes it back to white. So I mean, you already saw that. If I were to go here and select one of those files and drop it here, you saw how it was yellow momentarily till we dropped the file. So this is a good, user-friendly interface for dropping files from outside the system. By the way, the event data will enable you to grab all the files, and they'll come in. So Glimmer DSL for SWT is using the Swt library through JRuby. So the Swt library is actually written with Java. So this will give you a Java array by default, and then you convert it to a Ruby array, and then you just grab the text and do whatever you want with it. The file paths, basically. You can do whatever you want with them. And here you'd have to set the transfer mode to file. That's what enables you to drag files from outside the app and drop them into the app. That's pretty much drag and drop. In order to learn more about the Glimmer DSL for SWT project, check out the GitHub repository.